In this episode of Stronger Bones Lifestyle podcast, I want to share something that I believe will be extremely beneficial to you. If you are a woman diagnosed with osteoporosis or osteopenia and are looking for answers, looking for cutting through the information overload, the confusion, learning what you really do need to do, and especially how you could find affordable, physician-recommended approaches to slowing down, stopping, and reversing bone loss, and getting information and support that you need on your journey of doing all you can naturally to support your bone health. Welcome to Stronger Bones Lifestyle Podcast. Today, I would like to speak about something that is really important to me. I want to share with you why I created a community. My podcast is called Stronger Bones Lifestyle, and I created a new community called Stronger Bones Lifestyle, and I just wanted to tell you why and why you belong here. My goal in creating the podcast Stronger Bones Lifestyle is really to speak about the challenges and the fear that arise if you get a diagnosis of osteoporosis or osteopenia. And if you listen to some of the other episodes, you'll learn a lot about how we even got to where we are in terms of the way that we diagnose, manage, and treat bone health and how wrong we've been doing it. So listen to previous episodes. And this is something we talk about in the community as well. So as I created this podcast and I started interviewing physicians and learning more about this term bad medicine, or learning how what we've been doing is really all wrong and how it even began because it's controlled by big pharma and big healthcare and big food. And so as I interview more and more physicians that are moving away from the traditional healthcare in whatever specialty they have, and as I myself was looking for natural approaches to strengthening my bones, my DEXA got to a negative 2.4 in my early 50s, and I completely turned the ship around and reversed my bone loss. And then the thousands of women that I've worked with over the years that are doing all that they can to become fracture-proof and to take matters into their own hands. And then those that I've worked with running functional labs and helping them uncover root causes of their bone loss so that they could stop, slow down, and almost always reverse their bone loss. So I created my podcast so I could share this information, and the natural progression is to have a safe space where we can get our questions answered, have discussions with each other, and then I share so much of what I am so fortunate to be learning in all of these podcast interviews that I have had and continue to have. So the goal is to move away from the fear of the diagnosis of osteopenia or osteoporosis to the realization that you actually are in control, and to learn about the misleading components of what has been happening in the bone health world really since the 1990s and how this has been controlled. It's a patriarchal control by big pharma, big food, and big healthcare. And when you can learn how this actually began and what we're doing now, or what all the functional medicine practitioners are promoting, then you really learn that there's so much that's in your control. And I myself want to do everything I can naturally, and I find so many women that want to do the same. So I'd like to share with you the community, what it has to offer, why I would like to invite you, and why I think this could be a really great place for you and for us to do the very best that we can to be the strongest, healthiest versions of ourselves as we get along in this age. So a little bit about my story. You may have heard it in some of my other podcasts, depending on whether you've met me, worked with me, or have heard me before. I had a hip replacement when I was 51 years old. My body was broken at age 50. And at the time, I was a yoga therapist at a hospital working with hundreds of people each week. I had been doing that for years. And I created a yoga for osteoporosis class in 2014 after training with a doctor, a medical doctor, Dr. Fishman, and realized so quickly that bone health is such an important topic when it comes to menopause, when it comes to women. So I kind of went a little ahead of the game because I had this injury in my hip and then a total collapsed hip, which put me into a world of worry and fear when it came to my own body and bones. And then I was working with hundreds of women that were in the same place. So the realization of how important our bone health is, and then the learning of all the control we actually have over it and how traditional medicine had taken away our control. We were actually led to believe or misled to believe that the only approach were these horrible medications that actually don't even work in the first place in a lot of cases and have a lot of horrible side effects. So my journey of ending up with a broken body, ending up with a body and bones I felt that I couldn't rely on, then realizing what that did for me at a deep mental, emotional place, that is my driver and why I do what I do, why I teach live classes each week, why I've created programming to help you uncover your root causes of bone loss, and now why I created a community for us to get answers, to be in a safe space, a very low monthly cost so that it's affordable and really a no-brainer to join and to be with other women, to listen to their stories, to share yours, to get answers to your questions, and for you to give answers to others because we're all in this together. We're all doing the best that we can, and I love to be in community. So my whole entire view of bone health shifted because of my experiences, because of me as a health coach running functional labs on my own body, being able to reverse my bone loss from negative 2.4 in my hip to negative 1.9 in 2 years, for all of the lab work and the private work, the custom programs that I've done with women, and what I learned along that journey, helping them take control, helping them reverse their bone loss, being a teacher and seeing either women that had a diagnosis of osteoporosis or osteopenia, or just what happens to our body as we age and how important it is to be in control and to take charge of our body and bones and how possible it is. I would say that that's a big, big part of this for me. This is not me speaking. I'm actually the practitioner. I am actually a functional bone health expert. That title was given to me by an endocrinologist, and I do the work. I run the functional labs and have for years. My favorite is to do the gut work and to do gut labs to uncover root causes in the gut and then to support women as they take control of their bone health. And I had so much fear and frustration when I would work with women and I would hear their stories. I'm going to use the words bullying by their doctor or pressured by their doctor. Women who would get this diagnosis and were really left out of the equation on healing themselves. The only tool in the toolbox for Western medicine are these pills or these injections. And then maybe there's recommendations of vitamin D and calcium. And calcium supplementation can be dangerous. So not everybody needs to supplement with calcium. And in fact, most do not need to supplement with calcium. So even learning that information is pretty valuable. And I just felt so much frustration when a woman would tell me that the stories. So she's in the doctor's office and the doctor says, you need to go on this pill. And she says, but I don't want to. I don't like medications. Can I do anything naturally? And the doctor, of course, didn't have that information. There's no training in lifestyle habits in medical school, right? They're just trained to find the disease and give the pill. And it's not their fault. It's actually a control again by big pharma, big healthcare. So in the bone health world and in our traditional medical system, that's how it works. That's business as usual. And unfortunately, it is a business. And so the lady was in the doctor's office. He wanted to give her the pill. She said no. And he said, good luck. You're going to fracture your bones within a year. This other woman told me that her doctor said to her, be careful when she refused the medications. Be careful on the way out to your car so that you don't fracture your bones. I mean, how terrible is that? How scary is that to have your doctor make you think that you're that weak and that fragile that you might break either within a year or even today as you walk out to your car? Now, it's not their fault. It's a broken system and it's the training and it needs to change and I'm changing it. And I want to change this because we want to respect our physicians and go there and get great information. And believe it or not, they don't want to be doing this anymore either. So lots of the physicians that I interview on the Stronger Bones Lifestyle podcast, they use the term bad medicine. I've heard it by a few doctors at this point. That's what I'm going to use, the word bad medicine. One doctor said, he doesn't know how this happened. You would take the brightest minds that are in medical school to become doctors, and they were so misguided and misled by big pharma, being trained to find a disease and then a pill. So the good news is there's a movement in the functional medicine space that actually puts the patient or the person in charge of their own health and what are the tools, the methods, and the lifestyle you need to focus. So it's a broken system with outdated diagnostics, limited options, and that is what sparked my mission to raise awareness to how it all started in the 90s, who's controlling the narrative, and what control we really have, because that is when you can start to shift. And it just breaks my heart that women have been disempowered this entire time since the 90s. The early 2000s brought in another layer to this disempowerment when the Women's Health Initiative was passed in 2003. And it took hormones away from us, bioidentical hormone replacement, because it said that we would get a higher incidence of strokes and cancer. What did actually happen when the hormones got taken away were more fractures. But that study scared us to not take hormones. Now, 20 years later, we realized it was a flawed study, not peer-reviewed. They used synthetic hormones, and they gave estrogen orally, which is not the way to give estrogen. So it really breaks my heart that since the 90s, all of those women that were either put on medications that led to either spontaneous femur fractures, that led to a breakdown in their jawbones. One woman I interviewed on my podcast said she was picking shards of bones out of her teeth gum lines, and lots of women who said their mothers were on those meds. There was an orthopedic surgeon that I interviewed that has done 15,000 surgeries. He said he could take his thumb, and if you're watching this on my YouTube channel, you'll actually see it. He said he could push his thumb into the bones, and those that were on medications for osteoporosis, very spongy bones. So it really breaks my heart that we were disempowered, that hormones were taken away, that drugs were being offered that have a lot of side effects and don't do a very good job, that women are fearing becoming more fragile and weak and breakable, that there was such a lack of education for us on what we can do, and feeling like it's too late. And it really, the mental emotional layer, the moment we get that diagnosis of osteoporosis or osteopenia, it's like the rug is taken out from under us. So it really is really terrible, terrible thing that's been done to us. And so it breaks my heart that that had happened. And I know that there's a better way. And that is why I am sharing what I'm sharing on the Stronger Bones Lifestyle podcast. And I call it a lifestyle because it is a lifestyle, because there's so many different things that we need to do. And what does it mean when I say lifestyle? It is the lifestyle because it's really about healing your gut, building more muscle so that you stimulate more bone growth, improving your balance for fall and fracture prevention, and using food as medicine. And in my community, I have such a big, big part of it is about food, because it is what most women have asked me to over the years. That's really where a lot of our discussions have gone, is around food. So my core program is called Healthy Gut, Healthy Bones, because you cannot have a healthy gut without healthy bones. And then in my Stronger Bones Lifestyle community, I do live monthly cooking classes, and they are bone health specific. I have cooking classes on calcium-rich diet. So you look for the calcium in your food, because calcium supplementation can be very dangerous. In the studies, the women that were on calcium supplements and higher levels of calcium had more heart attacks and more death. So we do not want to supplement excessively with calcium. And that is something that a lot of women have been doing. And now we're learning that that's not the right approach. So in my Stronger Bones Lifestyle community, I do a live cooking class every month. I am also a trained chef. So I'm a functional health coach that's ran functional labs, uncovering root causes, gut dysfunction, food sensitivities. And in my stool labs that I run, I find a lot of digestive issues, and that leads to inflammation, which leads to bone loss, which leads to osteoporosis. So the cooking classes are to teach us what foods do we eat to support our bone health, to support digestion, to support our gut, protein-rich meals, mineral-rich meals. And as a chef, I teach yummy, easy, and bone supportive recipes, and then I share them. So in the community, there's a kitchen area. There's the cooking classes that I keep there. So whenever you join, you actually get to see every cooking class that I've ever had, and then all the ones that are going to come up. And then I keep all the recipes from each class and also recipes that I've shared before. So there's a pretty extensive library of recipes. Then I also have the movement piece because we have to work on our balance and our posture and our strength, and yoga therapy is all of that. So I have videos in there that I share. I also have challenges. So we do challenges that are going to be supporting balance, strength, and other facets of bone health. And then because this is in community, I create whatever it is you need. So the more of you that share your wants and needs and desires, those questions, those desires get answered. And we have to do this. It is a lifestyle approach. It's not a this thing. And, I get asked that often. What supplement should I take? Do I need magnesium? What form of magnesium do I need? Should I be taking vitamin D? How much? It's really not about one thing. It's all the things. And so we need to learn all the things. And this is where it is in the community. And you get this comprehensive approach. So who is this for? If you're listening and you're curious and you're wondering, this is for women who want to be in control of their body and their bones, women who want to be an active participant in their bone health, women who don't want to take medications or have taken medications and have had horrible side effects, or took medications 10 years ago and they don't want to go back on them, or are moving around from one medication to the next, and it becomes a part of what you do. And then for women who want to remain independent for the rest of their lives, that want to have active lifestyles, that want to work on strengths, that want to sift through the information overload. So often women say, I'm doing all the right things. If you're watching this, you'll see I'm doing air quotes. If you're listening, I'm doing air quotes. I hear that often. I'm doing all the right things. And still, they are having the DEXA scan numbers going down. So I share so much about what are the right things and how do you know the real needle movers when it comes to bone loss, because we've got to identify root causes. We've got to nip it in the bud, and the gut plays such a critical role, and inflammation plays such a critical role. So in the community, you will hear from other women who have actually reversed bone loss, reversed osteoporosis, women who feel more empowered, who no longer actually worry. And that probably is the biggest part for me. I work with women that have not even had a DEXA scan to say that their bones have stopped dissolving. I say we build and we dissolve, right? Bone building, bone dissolving, building, dissolving, all day, every day. That's why we need the lifestyle approach. The women who adopt as many lifestyles, habits as possible, and habit stack stronger bones lifestyle habits, they don't even have a DEXA scan yet to tell them that they got stronger. They just know it. They feel it in their gut. And I would say that that's another thing I hear often. I just know that I could do something. I just feel that I could do something about my bones. So they have this innate wisdom of knowing that there's something that they can do. If that's you, if you're listening and you say, wow, yeah, that's how I feel. Like I didn't want to take that medication. And I try to tell that to my doctor. And I just know that there has to be something that I could do. And, maybe one day you might need a medication, and maybe that's in the near future or the very far away future, or maybe the never future. But still, what about you being able to try something first. And that is the piece that is really important for me. I just want to share some testimonials with you. A woman who came to me with a diagnosis of osteoporosis at age 70, tried medications for 2 months, could not manage them because her gut was so reactive. And she had such a hard time. So then she was, now what do I do? Because she did try the meds, even though she's very naturally minded, because she didn't know what else to do. And this was like 5, 6 years ago. And then she came to me and we ran a whole bunch of tests on her, a stool test and a food sensitivity. I did a saliva test to look at her stress hormones and her steroid sex hormones and a hair test to look at mineral balance. And we completely worked on a protocol for the next year and a half we worked together. When she went for her DEXA scan at the 2-year checkup, not only had she stopped her bone loss, she had reversed it. She actually had reversed osteoporosis. She no longer was in the negative 2.6 or 7 range. She was now in the 2.4, 2.3 range in 2 years. So some of that shift is just what can happen from one to the other, some of the variations that can happen. Yet it was a pretty significant shift, and no longer would the word osteoporosis be written on her chart. Her doctor said, I do not know what you're doing, but whatever it is, keep doing it. Mary, who is a rock star, didn't like to cook, calls herself couch potato, tried another online bone program where she was being taught how to ask her doctor to run this test, that test, this test. She would sit with her computer, get her husband to be there with her, and try so hard to follow the videos. There was no live person. I think the price level that she had paid did not have a person involved, and so she couldn't get her questions answered. And she started crying, and she told her husband, I'm not smart enough for this. So back to what breaks my heart, that kind of stuff breaks my heart. And this is why anything that I offer has me involved as a functional bone health expert, because I want to be there with you, either furnish the answers if I have them or find them if I don't, and share with you all of the amazing functional medicine practitioners that I work with and meet and find me, so that we can all be a part of the redefining globally of bone health, from the way we used to diagnose, DEXA scan, treat medications, and manage medications, to the new approach, which is the new diagnostics, which is an ultrasound called a REMS. And the treatment is lifestyle-based, eating the right way, managing stress, optimizing sleep, the right supplements, cannot not talk about gut, identifying root causes, healing your gut, healing leaky gut, reducing inflammation, and doing the lifestyle approach. So that is so critical, and that's the treat part, and manage is also that part as well. So we treat and manage osteoporosis with lifestyle and not feeling scared. So living fully and not shrinking in fear. I call it scared still. So when you get a diagnosis, you become scared still, and scared still, no movement means more bone loss. So I know how overwhelming and scary it can feel after a diagnosis. I know what I felt like. I know what the women I am around feel like. And even just hearing that word osteoporosis sounds so scary and breakable and fragile. But what if instead of the fear, you felt informed? Education is queen. You felt empowered. You are in control of you. And you felt supported. You had evidence and science to back up what you were learning. You had doctors and other functional practitioners to tell you that, yes, this works, because they see it all the time. If you listen to my podcast or if you come into my community, because I have a lot of guest experts, a lot of orthopedic surgeons, they're going to tell you what they experience, and they're going to say that they have seen bone loss stopped and reversed. And so I want to offer you a gift. I want to offer you a 7-day free looky-loo. Come inside, look inside the Stronger Bones lifestyle community that I've created, or should I say that we've created. Even if I created it initially, it's the women in there every day that interact with each other, that support each other. We've created this. Women supporting women. Come see what it's all about. Explore the classes, the expert guidance, that sisterhood component of women who are on the same journey. We're all trying to do our best to be the strongest, healthiest versions of ourselves as we get along in this age or in this life. So after 7 days, if it doesn't feel right for you, then bye. Thank you. It's nice to have you here. And if it does feel right, I want to offer you a special bonus. So in the link that is at the bottom of the show notes for this episode, or if you're watching this on YouTube, then there's a link that will give you a special discount, a monthly fee that's lower than what you'll get if you come to my website. So head over to the YouTube channel to watch this, and I'm going to show you right now on video. So if you're listening, I'll try to be as descriptive as possible. And I would say that because I have a hip replacement, because I understand my body so well, the way that I teach yoga is so descriptive. So let's see if I could be as descriptive on the community and what it offers as I show it on video to those of you listening, and then spark enough curiosity, maybe answer enough questions that you just join, or spark enough curiosity that you head on over to Debi Robinson Wellness, which is my YouTube channel, and I'll walk you through what the community looks like and what we do and how it's going to change your life. So I am going to show you the behind the scenes right now. So for those of you that are listening, I'm sharing my screen so that I could share my community. And this is the community. So I want to show you here. So in the community Stronger Bones Lifestyle, there's a feed section, and this is where whatever's coming. So this is people that are in there interacting, sharing things. I do live webinars with experts. This webinar in particular was on how critical it is to minimize our exposure to toxins and how they exist in all everyday products. Toothpaste, the things we clean our house with, the laundry detergent we put on our clothes, our makeup, our nail polish. So I did this webinar, and once I do a live webinar, I actually keep it in the community. So anything that I do or share, which is quite a bit of stuff, it will be here for your viewing. Then I have challenges that I'm doing. So I'll put the challenges in there. 11 push-ups a day is one that we've done recently. I teach live classes every week, and most of them are through a hospital in Southern California that you need to pay for when you register through the hospital. And I offer one that is a donation-based class on YouTube. So from anywhere around the world, you could tune in and join us live, or you could watch it in replay. And in the community, you could go into the community and watch all the replays. I have hundreds of videos on my YouTube channel. There's also webinars when I'm doing live webinars, because I am redefining bone health globally. And so I do a lot of webinars to raise the awareness to the bone loss lie and how we've been doing this wrong and how we've been disempowered and controlled by big pharma, big food, and big healthcare for far too long. And that's changing on my watch. And then this one here that I did, if you're watching or you're listening, I did a foot stretch that is crazy. For some, it's harder to do this than others. And then you'll do this and get your feet limber, because limber feet are going to help you not fall. And we want to do that. I have an upcoming orthopedic surgeon, a female, that's going to come in. I've had past orthopedic surgeons and doctors come in and speak to us. Then I showcase certain podcast episodes, and this one that I did in particular on upper body strength, there was a functional movement specialist that I interviewed, and he did a lot of demonstration in the video. So the ladies were listening to it on the podcast, and they were so intrigued, and they kept saying, "What is he saying? What does he mean?" So I actually posted the 53-minute, I think it was, video with Carl, that's his name, and it's great. And gosh, I got so much great feedback. And he actually teaches basic things we could do around the house. And that's really my approach as well. My approach is we don't need all the shiny, expensive objects. We have so many things that we could do, whether it's our daily habits around food, around movement. And so we do not need all the fancy bells and whistles, inexpensive programs, the expensive weight vibration things and all of that stuff. So I actually share a lot of low-cost ways to take control of your bone health. So this episode here that you'll see in the community, he shows you different things you could do. And then, if I find here's one episode that was on bioidentical hormone replacement, which is a real big thing to do in the bone health space that's natural. Here's an example. I'm showing this golden turmeric healing soup because reducing inflammation is critical to bone health. And this soup here is really delicious. I've made it. A lot of ladies made this and made adjustments according to their palates. But turmeric is a great root for reducing inflammation. And then I mentioned that I have master classes, cooking master classes. And this right here is my anti-inflammatory cooking master class where you get the recipes. I'm going to show an example. Let me see if I can open this. So this is an example for those of you watching. We do really beautiful printable recipes for those of you that want to print them out. You could even create a 3-ring binder, which a lot of the women have been doing. And so depending on whatever the recipes are that I share, there's the recipes there. And I almost always give nutritional information because as a functional health coach who has ran functional labs on hundreds of women over the years, as a yoga therapist, understanding what it takes to build tissue, bone tissue and muscle tissue, and support hormones internally. And then as a chef, I put all that wisdom together. So the gut part is really important to me and the bone part. So my recipes support gut health and bone health. And this is an example I'm showing here. These are actually real images. So I could pick fancy, nice images, or I could do my own. And, I say that I'm not a pretty chef because I want it to look the way it looks. And I don't want it to be doctored up the way that it can be online, where then when you go to make it, it doesn't look the way it looked there. I will make sure it tastes delicious and be very rustic. So let's say I'm a rustic chef. This right here, this white bean dip, so nutritious for bone and gut health. And this is a gluten-free flatbread made with garbanzo bean flour. So this is an example of some of the recipes. Here's a bread, life-changing bread, probably one of the most popular recipes that I've shared over the years. So that's an example of what the recipes look like. The new technology to look at bone health, I promote this. And if I find something where you could sign up to have it done, depending on where you are, most of the women in the community are in the US and Canada. So let's say North America, right? But there's people all over. So when I find that there's going to be a REMS that you could sign up for, I'll share that. All the cooking classes are there. People come in and they introduce themselves, which is nice. We have a start here where women introduce themselves, and it's so nice because then others will comment and say hello, which is really, really nice to feel supported and to know who's here. The announcement section, I have a community discussion area, so I'm always putting in there announcements on what's coming up so that you could look for that. The event section also, the goal is to make it very easy and to not have it get real bogged down with complication. So depending on what is happening, I have a link. You could put it on your calendar. The Zoom link is there. I am showing now the gut health, and so I share research on the link. There's pictures being shared by women who make different recipes, and then they share their recipes with us. So it's kind of nice. It's nice to see what others do. And, they also share like little tips or tools or habits. The thing that I'm showing now, I travel a lot. And I was in India in December 2024. And constipation can happen on when we travel. So this is my constipation support that I bring with me. I bring a tea that has senna leaf in it. And then I usually always try to find watermelon or some kind of fruit or fiber-rich foods. I also take chia seeds and basil seeds with me to support fiber while I'm gone as well. But really great. Here someone wrote something about flatulence, which, that happens for us. So just really great to have this support, to hear what others are doing. And then there's hot topics that I'll post or others will post. someone here was worried about or concerned about getting enough calcium while she's traveling. So then we share some information there. I have an area that's my kitchen. So I call it Kitchen Talk. And this is where I share all the things food related. And what I'm showing now, someone shared this. I'd not heard of it. It's called Kiki milk. And when we are taking care of our bone health, we need to remove triggers of inflammation. And one of the ways we are triggered by inflammation the most is food. So removing inflammatory foods is step one. And an anti-inflammatory diet, that means we're going to be removing dairy, gluten, sugar. And so this person shared this Kiki milk, and it looks so delicious. I've yet to try it. Others had tried it. And then more recipes or foods that people were making. What I'm showing you now is safe cookware choices, because toxicity is a root cause of bone loss, and we need to make sure that we reduce our toxic exposure, and the cookware is one of those places. So I share links out to what is safe cookware and other things like that. The recipe section is in and of itself where you could find recipes. So you could find them in a couple of different places. You could find them attached to the cooking class that I taught them in, or you could just go to the recipe section and actually find the recipes that we have and print them out that way. And then the cooking master classes, they're kept in the cooking masterclass section. And when you go there, you get the entire masterclass. Now, this is supposed to be 90 minutes. However, I always go over because I want to be supportive and answer questions. And as I said, it is the most important topic over the years is, what do I feed my beautiful bones? Or just tell me what to eat, I hear often. So this one here, the anti-inflammatory cooking, there's the recipes. I always have a handout so that before you come to the class, because I come with the level of knowledge I do in terms of being a chef and being a functional health coach, running functional labs and understanding that, I'm not gonna be able to open this here. I have a notes I want you to print out before you come to class so that you could take really good notes and learn. That's important for me that you're able to do that. And then I have a resources section in this community. And in there, I have all the podcasts or the top podcasts that I've done. So I put them in there so you can link and go listen to the podcasts. We have weekly challenges or monthly challenges, just depending on what the challenge is, or let's say life challenges. One that we did here was the 11 push-ups a day. And this is a challenge that's being put out to us women by two of the top players in the menopause world. Dr. Vonda Wright, I believe her name is, orthopedic surgeon, and Mary Claire. And they're really amazing. So I do videos and I share why, and then we collaborate with each other and support each other. The expert corner is where I put the experts that I've had, and you could watch, listen to those talks that I've given. Then I have live practices. I have hour-long practices in here. I have some postural support suggestions in here. I have some breath work and meditation. I have a self-assessment. And what I'm showing for those of you that are listening, this one is called a self-yeast assessment, because I find high levels of yeast in women with osteoporosis and osteopenia, and that can be an internal stressor that contributes to bone loss. It also, if you have yeast issues, you're not going to manage oxalates well. And oxalates are in a lot of the bone-building foods. So we should not avoid foods with oxalates. We should heal our gut and have a healthy gut so that we could eat the foods appropriately. And then other information. We have courses in the community that you could take. And then there are a lot of links out to information that I find to be really important and valuable for those that are in the community. So I would love to have you join us. I would love to have you join those of us that are in there and be a part of our community. And we would really love to have you. Click the link below, come in, you have a 7-day free trial, And then you have a low monthly cost offer that I would love to extend to you for listening to the podcast. And if you were watching on YouTube, to watch what the community offers. So I hope to see you. And when you come in, will you please mention that you were listening or watching the video? Thanks for joining me on Stronger Bones Lifestyle. Are you ready to take charge of your future? For show notes, resources, and information on my programs, please visit DebiRobinson.com. If today's episode empowered you, be sure to subscribe, leave a review, and share it with someone who needs it. Together, we're building stronger bones and stronger lives. Take care, and I'll see you in the next episode.